What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first virtual Kinstretch class on the Washington College Campus Recreation YouTube channel. My name is John Weston. I'm a mobility coach, personal trainer, and collegiate sports performance coach at Washington College. Today's class is going to be a beginner Kinstretch class. This is where I would start my athletes or clients with an introduction to Kinstretch. Today we'll be working on the hips and on the spine. Before we go ahead and get started with our first class, I want to explain what Kinstretch actually is. Kinstretch is a movement enhancement system that develops body control, flexibility, and usable ranges of motion. Kinstretch can help enhance mobility, joint health, longevity, strength, and athletic performance. You might feel your body working in different ways than you used to. Kinstretch is about body awareness, and body awareness comes from doing things differently than you've done them before. With that being said, there are two sensations that I don't want you to feel. One is joint pinching, which I'll explain once I get into the session, and the other is nerve tingling. If you do get any of those sensations, you have two options. Back a little bit out of the position that we're doing so you don't really feel that pinching or nerve tingly feeling, or you can just go ahead and get out of the drill completely and then meet us in the next drill. Now that you know who I am and you know what Kinstretch is, let's go ahead and get to work. All right, guys, for today's class, we're going to be working on the hips and the spine. The hips and the spine are super important for the human body. It's very important that both of these ranges are strong, mobile, and that you have control over these areas. First thing, working on the spine, we're going to be working on the spine flexing and extending in a cat-cow, and then we're going to be working on the spine rotating in a spine car. CAR stands for controlled articular rotation. All right, so starting out, first thing we have, right, we're going cat-cow here. So to do this, you're going to be on your hands and knees. Knees right under the hips, wrists right under the shoulders, toes into the floor. All right, we're first going to start out in cow, which is completely arched this way. Then we'll go into cat, so rounding your spine. Think about keeping everything into the floor. Then you're just gonna arch your spine back and forth. The first couple of reps, all I want you to do is have the whole spine move together. Stay nice and controlled. All right, guys, great work on that. Now, we're gonna get into the same drill, but instead of having your spine move the whole spine move the entire time, we're gonna try to move each and every little bit of the spine, so each and every vertebrae of the spine. So, same position. All right, let's start in cat this time, which is gonna be completely rounded this way. Then starting at my tailbone first, I'm gonna arch my spine bit by bit. My spine is still a work in progress, so some chunks might not move individually, but that's the goal. We'll go ahead and go the other way, starting with your tailbone, through your lower back, middle back, keeping that head up, upper back, and then the head and neck. All right, we're now gonna work that for about 45 seconds here. Last rep here, guys. All right, awesome. I'll take a little breather. We're gonna hit a second set on that. The goal with that drill is to, again, have every little bit of that spine move. That's very important for spine health and just making sure that you have good movement throughout your body. So you're gonna have a lot of other training options available to you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go ahead and hit that second round now. All right, guys, great work on that. Next drill we're doing is a spine CAR. CAR stands for Controlled Articular Rotation. This drill is important for getting control in your spine and getting your spine moving. Having a mobile spine is great for performance and health. Just because your spine is mobile doesn't mean that it can't be rigid and strong as well. So with this drill, we're gonna be a long stance, right? Or excuse me, a wide stance. So a little bit outside of the shoulders, hips all the way through. From there, think about spreading the floor, pushing the floor apart. So that's gonna keep our hips still and keep our hips under our body. From there, kind of hug across your arms. We're gonna start our circle, right, by flexing downwards. Right, so pretty much going right into a cat like we did in the other drill. However, with this one, I want you to keep those hips still, so we're not gonna let everything round under this way, just being a little different than the last drill. So from there, I'm going this way first, staying flexed. I wanna rotate, turn my chest, doing my best to keep my hips still. From there, tilt that shoulder down, extend everything up to the ceiling, rotate to the left, tilt that shoulder this way, and then I'll finish the rep coming back to where I started. I'm gonna go one more, all right? So from there, all right, I'm now gonna go reps going this way for about 30 seconds, right? And then I'll go reps going the other way for about 30 seconds, right? Go ahead and follow along. All right, guys, we're now going the other way. All right, guys, we're gonna take a little breather. Great job on that drill. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and hit one more round in the spine CAR. Remember, the intent and the goal of this drill is to keep your body still, so the hips still, lower back still, right? And only move, right, the middle and upper part of your back. All right, guys, we're now gonna go the other way. All right, guys, good job on that. Now we're gonna go ahead and move to the hips. In our next part of class, today we're gonna work on hip rotation. So that's gonna be hip internal and hip external rotation. This joint motion is super important for having healthy, strong, mobile hips, but these hip movements are also important in sports performance and for lifts and other fitness activities. So for our first drill, we're gonna warm up our hips, and it also allows you to check what kind of range of motion you have. So we're gonna be supine, which is on your back. I'm gonna take my right leg, right? Bring my knee at a 90-degree angle. From here, right, my hip should be on the floor and most of my back and head should be on the ground. Now, I wanna just try and rotate my leg as much as I can either way. The goal is to only rotate and isolate the hip and keep the rest of the body still. As I mentioned with my spine, my hip is work in progress, all right? So if you can rotate more than I can, that's actually preferred, all right? So now I'm just gonna go back to that right side like you saw it, and now we're gonna work for about 30 seconds. All right, so take a note of how, how much, all right, and what it felt like when your hip rotated inwards, which is your foot coming towards you, all right, or outwards, which was your shin coming back in this way. Now let's go ahead and do the exact same thing on the left side. All right guys, great work. All right guys, now that we have warmed up the hips and actually checked what kind of range of motion we have, we're gonna get into some stretching and some strength training here. I wanna note, I do have a different outfit on. This video, this class was filmed over 2 days. So, next position we're getting into is gonna be the bear sit. So bear sit is gonna look like this. Knees are up, we got about a 90-degree angle here. All right, we're sitting tall. If that's not an option to you, you're more than welcome to just use your hands or even put something for support. Now, in this position, we're gonna work on internal rotation. So that's that hip coming inwards this way, or in the previous drill, the foot turning right towards your body. From there, if I'm going on my right side, I'm gonna think about rotating this hip inwards. So dropping my knee down to the floor, and that's gonna be my stretch. I wanna generally feel this stretch somewhere either in the under or side part of the hip. Everyone's body is a little bit different, so your stretch sensation might be different from my stretch sensation. But there are 2 places that I really don't want you to feel this. One, pinching on the inside of the hip, that would be closing angle pain, as I talked about at the beginning of the video. That's a no-go, don't go into that. Or some sort of pull on the inside of the knee. For the hip, you can just come a little bit out of it, or if this drill isn't for you, just go back and do the first drill we did. Now if you get the pull on the inside of the knee, you can either adjust your foot position, or same thing, come out of the drill, or if it doesn't go away, just go ahead and hit the other drill. Again, when we are doing stretching, mobility work, we want to target the specific areas. All right, so now that I've held, and hopefully you guys have held this passive stretch for around a minute, we're gonna do some strength training. We're gonna do what's called PAILS. PAILS is an acronym, it stands for Progressive Angular Isometric Loading. Basically, we're gonna now strength train this specific position. So for a PAILS contraction, you're gonna think about trying to push your leg back into your hand, but your hand isn't gonna let that happen. So all the stuff we feel stretching, that stuff is actually gonna get stronger. So I'm gonna start gently pushing back against my hand, and my hand is pushing back against my leg. So we'll start to gradually build up this contraction. So I'm pushing a little bit harder into my hand, and again, my hand is not letting my leg win. I'm at about 60 or 70% effort. I want you to hold this for 10 seconds. And great. All right guys, so now we're gonna do a rails contraction, or regressive angular isometric loading. That means we're gonna try to go into the other way. Because you're already at your end range of motion, you won't actually have to have anything to resist. I just want you, without pushing, to actively try to get the inside of your leg down to the floor. We should feel the other side of the muscles of the body of this part of the hip starting to work. Just make sure that hip stays down on the floor, and again, we're not getting the sensations that we don't want. From here, we're gonna hold for about 15 more seconds. I'm at about a 60% effort trying to get the inside of the leg down to the floor. And great. All right, guys, so now we're gonna go one more set, starting pushing back into the hand, and just gradually build up on your effort here. We have about 10 more seconds. Continue to push back into that hand. And now a rails contraction. So think about actively trying to get the inside of the leg down to the floor as if you were rotating your leg that way. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And great. All right, guys, great work. Let's now go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, so I'm now set up in my bear sit sleeper stretch, as this is called, on my left side here. I'd like you to do the same. Again, make sure we're getting the stretch somewhere in this back part of the hip or underside of the hip, just no pinching in the front, right, or catching or pulling on the knee. You'll take a note that my left leg cannot rotate inwards as much as my right leg, and that's pretty common of most people, not necessarily left and right, more that one leg is a little bit more mobile, has more range of motion on one side as opposed to the other. All right, so now we're doing the same drills on this side. So first, patellar contraction. Think about pushing back into your hand. Hand is pushing back into your leg. Again, start to gradually build up on effort. And wherever you are, hold for 10 seconds. And good. All right, guys, so now we're going into that rails contraction. We're thinking about trying to actively rotate inside the leg down to the floor. And great. All right, guys, let's go right to it. Right back to the patellar contraction. Again, think about trying to open that leg up into your hand. Hand isn't letting that happen. All right, now leg is going to try to rotate down, so think about getting the inside of the leg down to the floor. Last 10 seconds. And great. All right, so now we're going to get into a different kind of stretch, but staying in that bear sit position. So now we're going to look to stretch the hips out the other way. So for this one, hands are going to go right on the legs, elbows into the knees, and think about trying to open your legs up while staying nice and tall. If this position isn't great for you, you feel that you just have to slouch, or maybe your hips don't like being in that position, you could either go back to the drills that we just did, all right, or do the previous drill, the first hip exercise. All right, so for everyone else who's going to stay in this stretch position, you're thinking about using those elbows to pry the hips open. You should get a nice stretch somewhere to the inside part of your legs. We'll hold this for probably 10 to 15 more seconds. All right, guys, so from here, our patellar contraction, we're gonna think about trying to close the legs against the elbows. Elbows are not gonna let that happen. Continue to build up, right? So I'm gradually starting to push more into my elbows. And now I'm gonna hold this for 10 seconds. great. All right, so now without using your elbows, I'm gonna actively try to get the hips down to the floor. Even though you're not seeing much movement, I'm trying to push down, and just by working at that in range of motion does a lot for us in gaining mobility. I'll go about 5 more seconds. And great. All right, so now hands go back on. Take a little breather here. Now you might be able to gently push your legs open a little bit more to increase the stretch. If not, that's fine. But typically after doing pails and or rails contractions, you will see a temporary increase in your range. All right, so let's go one more time, going into pails. So I'm again pushing into my elbows. Elbows are pushing back into my knees. We'll go about 10 more seconds here. Again, with our pails and rails contraction, not only are we gonna increase our range of motion, we're also getting stronger in these ranges of motion. All right, lastly, getting into rails. So we're trying to actively open those hips up, staying tall. You might even feel muscles in the outer part of your hips, outer part of your glutes, really starting to work as well. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And great. I guess we have one last thing in the bear sit. All right, we'll finish up in this position, now actively doing rotations coming back and forth. So one leg's gonna stay still, other leg is gonna rotate in and out, and then we'll repeat on the other side. So if I'm sitting up tall, I'm gonna think about actively rotating inwards, hold for a second, and rotate back out. Same thing on the other side. And back out. Love it. All right, guys, so we'll work here for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Just now, moving our hips through the range that we just trained. Last rep here, guys. And great. All right, everyone, we got one more drill to finish out the class. All right, guys, last drill we have is gonna be a sideline hip car. CAR stands for controlled articular rotation. Again, it's just a big way of saying circle. What this circle does for, too much. All right, guys, last thing we have is gonna be a sideline hip car. CAR, again, stands for controlled articular rotation, just a fancy way of saying making circle. The reason we're doing this drill after doing some of our stretching is now to hit save on that work. So doing the circle, taking the hip through its biggest range of motion after doing drills to improve and strengthen your range of motion helps your body to remember the mobility that you just gained. So, sideline position will be in this position right here. So arms are gonna be out, knees are gonna be at the level of the hips, right? Our goal with this is to isolate this hip and do your best to keep the rest of the body still, right? As we draw the circle, we wanna think about being the biggest, smoothest circle that we can control. So hands are out, tension through the body, leg is into the floor. My right leg, knee comes towards my chest, open up, rotate that hip in as you kick back, knee to knee, then kicking back again, leg out, rotate that heel forward. All right, and we'll just follow that, working for time. If you can, think about trying to keep on my pace. With this, we want to have as much control as possible. While improving range of motion is awesome, we want to make sure that we have control of that range of motion. Just having good control of all your joints and body parts can do a lot for your performance and for your health. All right, guys, we got one more here. great. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and hit the same thing on the other side. As I mentioned with the previous drill, you might see that this leg has a little bit less range of motion. That's totally fine. Again, most everyone's legs are a little bit different. All right, so now we're in our sideline position. Trying to keep that body still, leg on the floor. Knee's gonna come up to the chest. Open, rotate that hip, kick back. Great work. Knee comes up, kicking back behind. Bring that leg straight out to the side. Pull that heel forward, knee to the chest, and good. All right, guys, let's hit one more rep. And great. All right, guys, that finishes up our first class. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or reach out to me, Instagram @jwestfitness. I'd be glad to answer any mobility questions that you have. Check us out next week for our next class.